On this panel, we will be discussing specifically how we will be amplifying all these wonderful creative collaborations, just wanted to get closer here, through this platform called Omniverse Enterprise that really accelerates workflows for AI. So this is wonderful. And I'm going to just go on the other side, Mark, to introduce you. Here you go, a little movement here, keeping it flowing. So, Mark, you've been with Image et Technologie in your role in terms of marketing and communications. And you've been in the industry working with many telecom giants, also with NVIDIA. So this is a topic that's very close to home. Absolutely. And you're moderating this wonderful conversation with Emmanuel Agoston and Rick Grandy, who I will let you introduce.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining the session. Before I introduce my colleagues, I'm going to run a quick video. Let me just make sure I have this here. I'm getting used to there we go. I don't see yeah, guys, I don't see the video on the screen. Can you run video one? Do you mind?
Go! Once upon a time, it was all fun and games. NVIDIA started off by making chips for video game machines. Graphics became serious business when people started using NVIDIA for blockbuster movies, medical imaging devices, and the world's most powerful supercomputers. And then one day, researchers discovered that our technology was perfect for AI. Today, NVIDIA is the engine of AI. Engineering the most advanced chips and systems, and the software that makes them sing. So robots can lend us a hand. Cars can drive themselves. And even the Earth can have a digital twin. We live to tackle the world's biggest challenges. And don't worry, we still love our fun and games.
There you go. So, guys, that's a little bit about NVIDIA. I'm going to introduce you to, I don't know if Rick's going to appear on the screen here somewhere from the West Coast. There he is. Everybody, hey. Rick Grandy. Hey, Rick. Rick Grandy from NVIDIA. Rick is a solutions architect in the M&E space. And this is my colleague, friend, and boss, so I'll be nice. Emmanuel Agoston, founder and CEO of Image et Technologie. So today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about mainly NVIDIA Omniverse Enterprise. So it's a collaboration platform, which we'll get into greater detail as we move forward through the session. We're going to talk a lot about some AI components or AI initiatives that NVIDIA has and have developed, and let's face it, NVIDIA is pretty much AI. So Rick, I'm going to start with you. So NVIDIA started as a GPU, like a hardware company, right? So it was mainly NVIDIA has been known as a hardware company at the outset. But since then, you guys have developed software and frameworks and so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit more how that came about.
Yeah, one of our colleagues says that NVIDIA was all gaming cards and render farms. And if you look at where we are now, we have more software developers than we have hardware engineers. We just have to look at the fact that the GPU is fantastic, but on its own, it doesn't do you a lot of good. You need that software, everything from the driver all the way to the SDKs, in order to really take advantage of it. So we've kind of really broadened out, and with the advent of AI and the power that GPU can bring from a pure compute standpoint, we've really looked at what are the frameworks that we can accelerate to help everyone in their data science, but then also how can we kickstart new areas. What are areas of focus for our research and engineering, so that we can make SDKs for a particular industry segment, or to solve a particular problem. We want to solve the toughest problems out there, and we have the resources to help everyone do it.
And Emmanuel, how have you seen the? You've been around long enough.
Absolutely.
I won't say how long, 27 years. You've been around long enough to see that shift as well from client side. How has describe that shift in terms of adoption to these newer technologies, and the perception that our clients have of NVIDIA shifting from hardware to now being like a full stack ecosystem?
But NVIDIA has been changing the paradigm completely, especially in the last 10 years with what we see today. So going from like a hardware-based company now with more software engineers and be able to offer the whole stack. So it gives everyone the possibility to design and have new AI algorithms that are based on what's happening today. So we see a great evolution in the compute space and everything around it. So AI is a revolution. It's not one piece specific. Okay. So what we see today is super extraordinary.
You say AI is a revolution. I think that's a common theme throughout all the sessions we've been seeing of late. So I don't know if you guys can show slide 2 on the screen. Sorry, Rick, we're going to lose you there for a second. Or maybe, there you go. So the next slide over. There you go. So Rick, you can't see this, but we're looking at NVIDIA's entire ecosystem. So again, we can see everything from platforms and I can't read that anymore. Jesus. But
it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So again, I guess the question is, you are now way more software centric. So what drove that shift going from hardware to software and now platforms? If we consider all the I said platforms, but I meant the frameworks. We look at, so folks who, if you can't read the slide, I'm not sure there, but on the top are all the frameworks, right? So these are all AI driven frameworks. So again, what was the thought process as NVIDIA shifted?
Well, it's just looking at the market, looking at what it is that we were doing in research and engineering, and what were pain points that we had. And then we were looking at like, what are people looking to utilize out in the real world, and we wanted to kind of mirror that. So as we built Selene, a supercomputer, we had a lot of infrastructure challenges. So some of the software that we have is to help with deploying at scale, dev operations, all those sorts of things that people don't think about when you're dealing with one workstation, but when you're doing things at scale, those become very important. We look at a lot of the frameworks and what people were trying to do in the marketplace. Some stuff people are doing repetitively, and those repetitive things we should be able to make easier. And some stuff we wanted to go out on a limb and say, we've got some of the best researchers in the world. Where can we put that research to an advantage for everybody? And so we've developed a number of these SDKs. And so we accelerate frameworks in general. So whether you're using, PyTorch or TensorFlow, we accelerate all those. But then, we were looking at what are the specific SDKs that we could put out there to make people's lives easier. Part of, I think, most data science is that it isn't always isolated. You have lots of problems to solve within a tool chain, and some things, you're going to spend, your research and engineering budget on solving this one particular unique problem. But the other things that might go into the pipeline, you can use a commercial offering, to solve that. That's not your secret sauce. And we're looking to help you with all parts of that, whether it's to, building, training, testing your own models, or integrating with existing SDKs that can help you fulfill the full pipeline.
Any thoughts, Simon?
Most of the thoughts were said by Rick.
I was going to say, if I was asked that
we think alike.
I would have said what he said.
Exactly.
So let me see. So tell you what, let's move on to, we have another video for you. Video, can you play video number 2, please? It's not AI powered.
Not yet.
Tomorrow.
Got to find the 1-inch reel.
So, there we go.
是第一财经的记者，我今天呢来为 NVIDIA 录制这段视频，让大家看一下 NVIDIA。
Maxine helps me keep eye contact with everyone on the call, whether it's one person or 100.
Some current uses of synthetic biology involve creating biofuels, engineering bacteria with useful properties not found in naturally occurring organisms, developing biosensors capable of detecting environmental toxins, producing biopharmaceuticals, and manufacturing chemicals via fermentation rather than petrochemicals.
So, as you probably noticed, the scope of the AI work at NVIDIA is absolutely incredible. If you have a chance, go look at the GTC 2022 keynote. It covers all of that. By the way, the digital twin, the character we saw at the not that guy, the other guy.
He may be digital. You're not.
Yeah,
sure.
but see, the fact is if he was, you could not tell. That's the cool part. But that's Toy Jensen, Hong, right? I can't pronounce the last name, but there you go. So Jensen, he's the CEO of NVIDIA. So my question to you now, Rick, is actually, again, now that we're into the AI component, what are some of the biggest challenges? Now, keeping in mind we are at an entertain AI conference, so we won't worry about manufacturing and everything else. What are some of the biggest challenges that research engineering are focused on for you guys now, and what has driven that change or those decisions?
Sure. I guess just coming from my background, so I spent 25 years doing visual effects production and animation. So as much as I would love to talk about like finite element analysis for engineering, I just can't do that. So these are the buckets.
Sorry, Rick, I don't think they want to hear that.
No, yeah.
To be honest.
So, but these are my buckets, of like, why I look at like areas that, we look across the spectrum of like, call it like entertainment problems. We have, conversational characters, where we're trying to, not just have text as an output, but put a voice and a life to an interactive experience. How can we glean insight from the information we have about our users and our consumers, our viewers? to provide them, better information within an experience, or provide them with, information about a new experience. With the computer vision, we're doing a lot, not just on the idea of like 3D avatars, but 2D avatars. There were examples of, the Maxine SDK, where we can completely change and basically have video of one person or video of any source drive another source. Or change the direction of like where you look, like I'm, looking at my camera maybe, or maybe I'm looking up at the screen. I can always change my gaze direction. But with all of these solutions, they're kind of an end-to-end thing. Like when we built Toy Jensen, you wouldn't believe how many engineers had to get involved and how many parts of that stack there is, from the natural language processing for general dialogue management, the ASR model, hooking that into a service to serve up the text-to-speech to audio to face and have that drive the graphics. And, we see the need for these platforms to make everything come together. And so while it's great to have these independent, components that you can play with, the real magic comes when you have a platform that allows you to kind of pull all of it together in kind of an easy fashion.
I see what you did there. And what is that platform called?
We have a platform called Omniverse. There you go.
There you go. That's a great segue. One thing, based on the amount of resources that were required to create Toy Jensen, I guess, this is a question for Emmanuel. I guess I'm not getting a toy Mark anytime soon, right?
Maybe a toy Emmanuel first, but then we'll try a Mark.
So Emmanuel, how have you seen the influence on AI in the M&E space? And I'll caution when I say this, we're kind of ramping up still, right? So the adoption is not yet fully there, I think, because it's still more of a concept.
Yeah, in the M&E space, pretty much everyone has their own pipeline. They've been building out for 20 years, but again, with Omniverse, everything kind of shifts over. So people are looking at the platform, trying to understand where it fits, but again, it's a paradigm shift. So everything is going to be completely different, and all platforms will converge together. So again, it's a great platform where you can collaborate, not just here locally, but you can collaborate worldwide. So exactly. the human resource plan and everything around it, you can have different components, different people. You can have some people here in Canada, but you can have some people in other parts of the world, and they can all collaborate together in a real-time fashion. So we're shifting completely the way M&E is being built across the last 20 years.
And from an economic perspective, we're talking about scalability, we're talking about accelerating your processes, improving your workflows, your efficiency. All that makes for a quicker take to market and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Lower costs and all that. So
with all the AI involved, it's going to accelerate the go-to-market strategies, and you're going to be much faster in producing your content than it was, again, 10 years ago.
So before we get into greater detail about Omniverse, what about the cost factor to adopting AI technologies for the M&E space? Is that a factor right now? Is it even?
It shouldn't be one of the considerations. Again, if you look at the ROI globally, you're going to be saving a lot of funds after you integrate a platform like Omniverse, just because of the lengthy time process, and you're changing completely your workflow from something which is on-prem, which has been built and done for a long time. If you have a reviewer here in Canada or maybe in France, you could have instant collaboration, so you don't have to reiter lengthy processes. So it's very easy to be able to produce content and do it in a very economical way.
And you don't need local expertise to be able to.
Absolutely.
And it gives you a 24-hour clock for work, right?
That too.
Post-production time, right? So, guys, can you play? We have one last video. Sorry, guys. So, video number 3, please. How cool is that? So
That's cool.
that's the best one yet, Rick. Seriously, that in the IMAI, which I think I noticed you have that shirt, and I'm still waiting for mine, by the way. But
I should put mine.
so let's talk about what we just saw. So Omniverse, again, a collaborative platform, not only for VFX artists and artists in the M&E space, creation, gaming, and so on and so forth, but manufacturing, smart cities, all of that, AEC, so architecture, engineering, and construction. Rick, tell us a little bit more about Omniverse. Omniverse is still not that old. It's been around.
No, not at all.
It's not that old. So, so talk to us about Omniverse in the M&E space.
Well, you hit the right word. It's a platform. It's not an application. Not that I want to call it negatives, but it's not an application, and it's not your pipeline. It is a platform. Think of it as a development environment for what it is you need to accomplish. It's based around a tool set for generating virtual worlds. We think of everything in the future is going to be simulated before it's going to be constructed, and for that, we need advanced virtualization, visualization, and simulation. And so for us to create a drive simulator that can drive 1 billion miles, we need to generate photorealistic images of landscapes and roadways in any season around the world. And when you've got something that can do that in real time, you've got a really powerful advanced visualization system. We can do much more with that, so we can use it for robots within warehouses. So we have versions of Omniverse specifically for that. But with its core tenet being around simulation, rendering, and then collaboration, there's a lot that we can do within the M&E space. And for us, it's a great platform because it allows us to bring all of our technology together in one location, so that a researcher who's focused on, say, conversational AI now has something to easily demonstrate that within an avatar.
That's fantastic. So, Emmanuel, on a day-to-day, and we won't mention who, but we're rolling out Omniverse Enterprise to a couple of clients right now. We're doing some testing. So where do you see, you've been invested in this for a while now. You've been around since it was a concept or a conversation, kind of on a napkin type of idea, and now we're actually rolling it out. What has that process been like for you?
It's been amazing. Again, just from a conceptual standpoint, a couple of years ago, it was just a kind of an idea. We see Jensen, going all out with the big picture, and we all drank that Kool-Aid. It was amazing. It just puts the bar so high, and since now we see it materialize. So it's really seeing from like a baby step to something which is very, at large. And we have customers now rolling it out. So it's amazing to see how we can produce, and people are seeing such a benefit from it that they're really changing the game, and the old fashion of doing so, the legacy ways of doing are being shifted over and ported back to Omniverse. So it's more than a product, it's a platform, like we said, and everything can collaborate together. And all the ISVs, or most of the ISVs, are trying to build around it. So a lot of people, not just individuals in the visual space, but in all kind of other spaces, are building for it. So we're going to have a way where people can really collaborate. So not just from the visual standpoint or M&E standpoint, but to have conversational AI and all kind of other platforms. So it's really amazing.
And again, you said collaboration, scalability.
Scalability at scale, yeah, absolutely.
Acceleration. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want that in their as a business model, right?
I want to focus on also the fact it's based on open source standards. One of the big things we wanted to get right is like these walled gardens of independent ecosystems. And so we built it based on USD and MDL so that everything you have is transferable. And we're working with all the partners, creating software out there kind of across industries to pull everything into this. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Like you have great application software for creating, assets and data, and we want that to be part of the ecosystem. We want to concentrate on what we think as what our main value proposition is, the high-end fidelity graphics, rendering, and simulation, and bring everyone else to the table, and allow everyone to coordinate. So whether you're, doing creating VDBs in Houdini or models in Maya or doing animation in 3D Studio Max, all of those can play together in one ecosystem, and they can collaborate in real time with each other. I mean, you can do you can be modeling in Maya and see the results in the Unreal Engine in real time.
Rick, you mentioned, and we're going to be wrapping up soon, but you mentioned a very, maybe to kind of help illustrate some of the benefits for a visual effects artist, for example. You and I were talking about, for example, when you were rendering, right? So certain details, for example, you're talking about like the sheen in someone's hair or the light, the lighting. You can recreate a scene, for example, without having to fully render it. Is that what I?
Within Omniverse, we have 3 renderers. We have our ground truth IRA renderer if you need something that's completely physically accurate, but we also have a real-time ray tracer and a near real-time path tracer. So the idea of being able to do animation previews, or if you look at like the way film and most like episodic production is made, most of the rendering you do is not final rendering. So if you can have that preview, you can see an example of what it's going to look like in real time. I don't have to animate the person's face if he's in shadow.
Sure.
And I can see that based on, sequence-based set lighting or something like that. But then it also brings in other technologies, like we have a neural network for audio to face, being able to drive facial animation purely by giving it an audio track. Cool thing about this is, what if you're creating a digital character and you want to release this worldwide, rather than having to go in and do it, reanimate the face, lip sync for every single dialogue track for 150 different languages. You could just pass it that new dialogue track and it'll automatically animate your lip sync.
So I'm not sure why Rick didn't include this video, right? But he actually shared one. He had, I think there was the Mona Lisa on one side. There was Rick, who had something on his face, right?
I had my headset.
To animate, and then the Mona Lisa again, but basically moving to the same structure as Rick's face. It was freaking awesome. So I can imagine when you have to translate content, again, efficiency, scalability, and cost. We're wrapping up. So Rick, what's this is a heavy question. What can we expect from NVIDIA in the next 6 months? Is there any special announcements you can? I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh gosh,
I'm kidding.
Well, I'll say one thing for everyone out there: if you haven't, check out NV Research. So NVIDIA Research, and SIGGRAPH is coming up very soon. CVPR. We have a lot of papers doing some astounding things that are going to be coming out. Some of our networks that may have been mentioned in the past but didn't get a whole lot of press, you'll start seeing more and more from them.
You heard it here first.
And we're also looking for feedback from people. What have we done that is interesting, that we should take from research into engineering and productization? I'm a big fan of neural rendering these days. I think NeRFs are amazing, and I see the day where one day we're going in and capturing a set for virtual reproduction. We're not going to be rebuilding from point clouds and having static-based meshes and geometry. Being able to do view-dependent rendering off of a NeRF is amazing. So the idea of a virtual set being populated by NeRFs, that's not too far off.
So we'll keep an eye out.
We even have customers working on it.
That's right. So Emmanuel, again, I'm putting you on the spot. And what's coming up for Imagitech?
We're seeing the AI taking control of the M&E space. So again, being part of the both worlds, the EAI is really the place to be. And we're seeing so much evolution and so much new talent that AI is really taking over the M&E space. We're seeing these types of new innovations, and it's driving M&E as a whole.
So I'm glad to be a part of that.
I wanted to say, it's, NVIDIA Omniverse, it's free for developers. Download it. If you want to play with it, kick the tires, look up NVIDIA Omniverse, download it. When you get to that level where you need to have like a lot of people collaborating globally at scale, that's what Enterprise is for. And we're here to help you stand it up, learn the best of, what the features are and how it will like make your workflow better and your lives easier.
I can say firsthand, credit to the team at NVIDIA, the onboarding process. is phenomenal. You guys are there helping us every step of the way with our
We have an
clients.
awesome team.
You guys are fantastic. So
And
really
we need to
appreciate
say that it's open source, and really at the end, we're not going into a system where you're going to be locked in. So
Constraints.
So most of the applications out there are building around it. So it's really a whole movement around Omniverse. So it's a great time to be a part of this new paradigm shift.
Fantastic. There you go, guys. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Good
Thank
talking to you
you.
guys again.